Okay, good day everyone. Welcome back sa ato ang course on electricity and magnetism. So we are now on chapter 2 and we'll be heading towards the application part na sa more on sa electricity and then later on magnetism. So we have Gauss's law as one of the uh, important na mga tools na ginagamit sa sa physics and even sa engineering to make the computation of electric field a lot easier. So that's why naano siya ang Gauss's law. So chapter 1, we discussed about the nature of charges and of course from if uh, if you have charge then it has a corresponding electric field, diba? So for this chapter po, we'll be relating the, the charge. So we'll be relating charge with the electric field also, or that's in technical terms you will be referring to the flux. Okay, you will know later what is flux as we go along with our discussion. So by the way, I will have to delete this kaning video kay I think muna siya isa sa mga reason nga nung medyo mo lag bitaw and mo na ay delay because maglisod ang maglisod og apas ang akong internet speed with uh, kay unstable man ang connection dito say paspas usay mo hinay say mawa jud. Pero kung paspas sa kaysa nga tanan. Kung hinay halos wala na po yung internet. So on the average mukuan siya mo fluctuate ba. So I'll have to remove this video and what will remain is the whole screen and then my voice speaking. And at the same time wala na distraction kay basin medyo distracting sa dang ako ang face. Okay, so that will be good. Okay, so in almost all cases in our everyday life, in our everyday routine, di ba, we are faced with many challenges. Di mo gina mawala nga wala tay challenge sa everyday. If wala tay difficulty or challenges nga ma-face sa in one day, life would be boring or maybe you are not living, right? Or you are dead. Na mo always kita mo face ang challenges. And these challenges and obstacles can be addressed in an easy or hard way. So na ay lahi nga pamaagi in addressing or solving the problem. Pwede sayon, pwede lisod. Depende ba sa akin ma-solve mo ang problem. But of course, we will always choose for the easy way. Okay? The same as like result, why not use the easiest route? Yeah, the easiest way. Pura ra wato taan nga lugar and then na shortcut at na long cut. Okay? Kasi i-neglect na to ang let's say daghan may factor di ba kung pili tag route. Kasi mas safer siguro tong longer route. Pero when it comes to time element lang, asay mas dali maabot, we will always choose for the shortest path, right? Tong shortcut niya. The same thing po na sa physics. Okay? Because it will really save us a lot of time and stress and relieves us from all those unnecessary effort. So it is no exception also in physics that the easiest route to solve the problem would be your first choice. Okay, there are certain problems in physics where we will be using an important tool, and this important tool that I'm talking about is actually the Gauss's law. So this is one important tool wherein ang calculation sa electric field would be a lot easier. So for this course, dili lang kita mo dwell into that calculation nga part because I know limited ang mathematical tools at hand. But what I will going to show you this course for this topic or for this chapter is unsa ang Gauss's law in general and ang ihang concept niya behind it, conceptual siya. So at least na amo idea what Gauss's law ganong gamit siya, asa siya magamit, right? At least na may idea baka makita mo ano nga word Gauss's law saan na siya. So you will have maybe not in depth but at least you have an overview of what it is. Okay, so Gauss's law will be very useful in physics, especially in calculating electric field, because as I've said kanina, mas madali ang calculation. Okay, because Gauss's law makes use of symmetry, and we all love symmetry. It's very beautiful to look at. And sa physics na siya nga part, when we mention about symmetry sa physics and even sa math, that's aside from being beautiful ang symmetry, it is also useful and makahatag siya og comfort and convenience sa physicist or mathematician because mas madali ang imuhang trabaho. Okay? So, where do we go from here? Okay. Okay, so previously, you've learned about what electric field is, right? So, actually, it all boils down sa kanira man na siya. Uh, from the Coulomb's law, right? We have K, Q1, Q2, siya na, over R squared, then R hat. So, the electric field arises from this equation. So, dili na ito na-derive nga. Ang electric field there is given by this. We have Q, E. So, it's a vector quantity. Okay? So, unsa ning E? Mao ni siya ang katong, if you go back here, if you take out Q1, so this is Q1. So, if you take out Q1, ang nabilin nga tanan nga mga variables are what we call in the electric field na terms. So, E is just K, Q2, or let's say, mas general, just Q, right? KQ over R square. Or sometimes, ang K, i-express mo siya explicitly as 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q over R square R hat. That's R hat. So, nasa R hat, nasa direction because it is a it is an it is a vector quantity. Okay. So most of the time devoted to electricity and magnetism is really all about calculating the electric field. Because once you know the electric field, you can know the potential, you can know the energy of the system, you can know the potential difference, the voltage, and also later on you can also, if that charge is moving, you can determine the magnetic field and so many information, valuable information, just by knowing the electric field of a certain charge or distribution. So, nara diri ang kuan gid ang meat and butter, ang bulk sa ato ang trabaho, which is how do you calculate for the electric field? Now, it's for this case, kani siya nga formula, this is only true for a point charge, right? So if you have a point charge, mo na iyang electric field, right? Ng electric field. And yes, that is the electric field of the point charge, but nganong kana man and unsay value, unsay quantity. So the quantity of that is given by this. Mo na iyang electric field. So, but the question arises then, what about those electric field nga given by a charge distribution, right? We say, how about a metal ball, sphere? What's my electric field niya? What if a line, say a wire, sa may electric field? Sa may electric field, ana, right? How about a cylinder, right? So, sa may electric field, ana. And if we use this formula, kani, this is for point charge, then i-convert na siya nimo into this different charge distribution, such as line, sphere, and cylinder. So might be it might be quite a challenge for the individual. Okay, dahan siya i-consider, so in short lisod siya, but that can be made a lot easier by employing Gauss's law. So kana siya. So Gauss's law. So Gauss's law makes use of the concept of two entities. You have the charge and the electric field. So naa siya relationship. Okay, we'll see that later. So these are important points of Gauss law. So Gauss's law can be used as an alternative procedure. Okay, so alternative procedure for calculating the electric field. So alternative siya because masayon man siya nga method, but Gauss's law is only applicable if ang imong system is na asymmetry. Okay, just like this. So this is a sphere. So a sphere is symmetric, right? So if you're looking at the top, okay, ina top view sa imong sphere or metal ball, symmetric siya, di ba? If you move to the left to the right, tanawon nimo siya, symmetric siya. Tanawon po nimo siya sa ubos, symmetric po ang ball. The same thing is true for a cylinder. Okay? If you look at sa kaninga direction, it's actually symmetric, right? The same thing is true po sa line. If you look at here, so symmetric siya. Kung unsa makita sa wala, mo po na makita sa tuo. Okay? Dili po, unsa makita sa left, mo po na makita sa. So that's how symmetry works. And if the system has a very good symmetry, then no doubt we can use Gauss's law. So Gauss's law is based on the inverse square law of or behavior of an electric force between point charges, so the same happen, katong Coulomb's law. So it is convenient for calculating the electric field of highly symmetric charge distribution, as I've said kanina. Okay? And Gauss's law is important in understanding and verifying the properties of conductors also in electrostatic equilibrium. So we need to understand first before we go to the before we go to the Gauss's law, we have to understand first this concept because as I've said kanina, Gauss's law is built on these two entities. We have the charge. You know what charge is, right? Katong sa previous discussion sa previous chapter, and the electric field, which is sa flux niya. Okay? So what is this flux? Now, a flux is simply the product of the magnitude of the electric field and the surface area perpendicular to the field. So, in simple terms, it's just actually counting how many electric field lines that passes through a certain area. Okay? Take a look at this area. Area. So, the formula for the electric flux is, in general, yun sa mathematics. It's given by this. Sorry. Let me erase this. So, the symbol for flux is given by that. Okay. So, it's a Greek letter na siya. Phi. And then that is actually given by the integral of the electric field times the area. Okay. So, don't be intimidated by this equation because it just simply saying that ang electric field, gi-multiply nimo sa direction sa vector man ni siya. This is vector and this is vector po so na siya direction. So sa kanina case, the electric field na dala ang direction and ang area po, the dA, nasa siya direction which is perpendicular ani. Okay, so ang direction po sa area is diha po the same siya direction sa electric field, right? So if na ko area nga ingon ani, say flat siya, so ang iyang direction sa area is perpendicular gyud siya sa surface. Okay, that's inana siya, na diha. Okay. So if na ko ani nga area, so ang iyang na po diha ang iyang always siya perpendicular sa surface, baka normal sa surface. Okay? And the integral actually means i-add nimo tanan contribution. For this case, pila man nakabuok, right? So i-count na niya. For every electric field nga ni cross sa kaninga area. So that's the flux. But if uniform lang imuhang for a very special case wherein ang imong area is flat just like this, a rectangle, a square, or any flat na surface, this will reduce to just by saying the electric field times the area. Okay? So, kana. So, ang flux, of course, mo dako, ang value, if ang imong electric field kay dako, the greater the electric field, the greater also is the electric flux. Okay? And of course, ang imong hapong area is dako pod, right? So, dako ang area, dako pod ang um, iyahang flux. And the unit for the flux is this one, Newton Newton meter square per coulomb. Okay. So as I've said again, recap, the electric flux is just merely counting the electric field that passes through a certain area. In this case, area A. Okay. So flux can be likened into an intensity, right? So the more daghan ang electric field lines na ni pass through for a certain area, the greater also is the electric field intensity, so to speak. Okay, so however, dili man most of the time, ang imong area o ang imong electric field is the same ihang direction, right? And pareha diri. The direction of ang direction sa area is diha pod ang direction sa electric field. So, what you will get as a flux is actually maximum siya. Kay ang vector nga electric field ug ang vector nga area, they make the same angle, parallel siya with each other. Okay? And take note, this is a dot product. So in general, if naa kay angle nga i-make, like for this case, this is the direction of the electric field, and the direction of the area is it's always perpendicular to the surface, right? So ang surface na is kani sa imong area, so naa diri ang ihang direction sa area. And it is not parallel with each other anymore, unlike with the previous case. So na siya angle, right? So in katong discussion na to last time, it's like this is vector A and this is vector B. So if imo siyang i-multiply, you will actually get this. Okay? So we have EA cosine theta. Now, you will recover this one, the EA, you will recover this if cosine theta is what? If E and A are parallel to each other. So if parallel siya with each other, so wala siya angle between them. So if theta is 0, so meaning cosine 0 is 1, right? So your flux would reduce to just EA, so which is the same din here. Special case na siya kay kuan gyud siya ba? Ang imong direction sa electric field and the area is parallel with each other. Now for this case, naa siya a certain angle. So this is one extreme wherein ang theta is 0. How about ang theta is, what if ang theta is 90 degrees? Okay? So, unsa ka na siya? So, kani imuhang area, mo flat na siya, right? So, let me pause akong video. So, if I will draw it, it's like this, ang imuhang, so, kung ang imong angle, kani siya, ang angle theta is 90, so it's like this. This is your electric field. The imong area pod is, they lie on the same, kana siya. So, kani siya nga area, right? Ang ihang angle niya is, ang ihang direction is perpendicular, di ba? Ana man na siya. And your electric field is here. Okay? So, it's like, ang imong electric field, nag-make siya 90 degree angle. So, ang imong electric field, technically, make sense po siya if you look at it sa figure, walay ni pass through sa imong area, sa imong square. Kaya na, ihayang naman ang imuhang area, right? Or if you calculate that one, cosine 90 is just 0. So that would give you 0. So walay flux. Okay. So that is the case there. So sa I've said again na mo na siya ang extreme. Cosine, and if you have your angle 0, so this is maximum ni mga, the flux is maximum. That itong case, in ani nga case, this is your electric field, tapos the same po ang direction sa imong area. So maximum imong flux, meaning maximum makasulod ang mga electric field lines sa area. But if it's 90, so mo ni imong area, this is the direction sa area, then ang electric field is dira padulong. So wala siya mosulod dinhi sa kaning mga portion ba kay perpendicular man siya with each other. So that would give you 0. Okay? So wala siya electric flux. Okay? So we will not dive into this anymore. Okay? This is the most general gid siya nga actually na case sa imong electric flux, because what we are considering here is ang imuhang area is simple siya like square or rectangle. What if ang imong area is ingon ani siya ba? Okay? So we will not go into the detail ana, pero the same concept gyapon ang i-apply. Counting gihapon of the electric field that passes through a certain area sa kanila case. Say this is the small area element. Tapos counting of electric fields ana. And then since area man ni siya ngay nani kadako, and we are kanang consider nimo is kanilang. So kailangan nimo magbuhat about another area diha tapos i-add nimo tanan mga contribution. Okay? Nasa electric field, electric flux. That's why you have this. I-sum nimo tanan, integrate, or the integral of this flux counting of electric field lines. Okay? So the concept of electric field flux is very crucial and important in extracting some useful information that we want to have in our system. So let's say, given an electric field distribution or the flux, maka-infer ba ta or makakuha ba tag information if unsa ka ang nasa sulod given ang electric flux nga na measure nimo sa gawas o sa surface, right? Like for this example sa kaninga figure, this figure A, let's say wala ka kahibaw nga positive din na siya ang naa diha, and what you only know is naay box nga unknown. Okay, you have, let's say na nag-deliver sa imo og box Lazada or Shopee, and then you're not allowed to open the box, and then tag-anon nga nimo usay sulod ana. Okay, so if let's say ang sulod niya is charge, you can actually determine if unsay sulod niya based sa kung unsay flux sa surface. Okay, without even you touching the box or opening the box by yourself and looking at it directly nga, it's a positive charge. You don't have to do that. By just knowing the electric flux at the surface, you will know what's inside. So wala na siya og kung unsa ang naa sa gawas, definitely mo ang sa sulod, or kung unsa ang imong what you have inside, ma-emanate na siya sa gawas. The same thing is true na siya sa kaning electric flux. If you have a charge, it will create its own electric flux. It's like kung wala po kay charge sa sulod, wala po siya electric flux. You cannot give what you don't have, right? So if you have this, so let's say unknown ang sulod, kakaibaw, it contains an unknown amount of charge. To determine the contents of the box, what we can do is just to simply measure the electric field on the surface of the box, as I've said. And there is a single positive charge inside, okay, sa sulod. Okay. So if you have a single charge here and a double charge here, ang ilang electric flux or ang pattern ana is different good. Okay? So that's one thing yung may bawaan nga. Dailahi ni sila usulod. Why? Because dailahi ang ilang electric flux o ang electric field pattern niya. Okay? This one is for positive charge Q, and this one is positive 2Q nga charge. How did you know that? Just by looking or measuring the electric flux. Now, in both situations, sa kaning A and B, one thing is for sure nga ang iyang electric field niya is pagawas, right? This is outward. So another hint na po na nga, it must be positive kay the direction of the electric field is towards me or it's outside or going outward sa box, okay? Lahi po nga case sa kaning C and D, although the same sila og magnitude sa iyang strength sa electric flux, but uh, what do you call this? Lahi ang iyang direction. Kani siya is pasulod where the positive is pagawa siya sa box. Okay? So to reiterate the point, the details of the electric field on the surface of the box are different in both scenarios, but the same sila og direction kay post mo sila positive outward ang direction sa kaning box sa kaning electric field and ang kaning C and D inward ang iyang direction. Okay? So take a look at this case. If you have this, unsa ni siya tawag ani mo siya og ako ma-remember ani nga shape kay murag mo siya katong space shuttle ba to or uh, balloon nga gisakyan nilang gon kana sa Hunter x Hunter ba I don't know if nagtanawan mo ana mo siya ingon ana di ba katong murag space shuttle or sa space mo siya helicopter ba nga gisakyan nilang gon o katong mga uban hunter. Well, anyway, so if you have this shape, can you see, right? You have that shape, and then the electric field nga kani nga diha padulong, right? Electric field. So, kana from that direction. Unsa ka ang electric flux niya, right? So to do that, so to calculate the electric flux, ang ginabuhat is i-subdivide nimo ang whole surface or whole surface area of the object into smaller pieces. That's why nakay grids, right? Nakay grids. And each grid will represent this vector or small area, meaning ani is small, kamay. And if you add those small element A or area, that would constitute the total area or surface area of this shape. Okay? So that's a very small element. And I here represent number. Okay? Okay. Kung pila nakabuok diha, kasi gi-divide nimo siya into grids or small parts. Kung pila na siya kabuok, mo po na siya ang imong counting. I runs from 1, 2, 3. Kung pila na siya kabuok diha nga small parts pag subdivide nimo. Basta ang total niya is the total area kung i-add nimo. Now, depending on how well you subdivide the surface area, so kung pila ka buok nga ginagmay nga mga area diha pag divide nimo, depending on how well you subdivide, the I could range up to infinity. Okay? Kung imo siya i-chop-chop gyud ani bito imo siya ihiwa-hiwaon i-subdivide gyud mo kadaghan. Theoretically, abot siya og infinity ka dagha as in daghan jud kaayo nga mga small areas nga maabot siya sa point na kani siya is mo approach mo siya to zero. Okay? Gamay na jud kay siya ba. The reason for that nganong kailangan siya i-subdivide o ginagmay kisa sa tanan in such a way nga ang kada area ana is flat. Right? And the reason nga kailangan nato siya nga flat para magamit nato tong idea nato last time nga if you have this area nga flat, ako electric field, so you can just simply multiply E times A, right? Dili man siya pwede nga kasi curve ang imuhang area tapos di na siya balance, right? Kung curve dapat flat gid siya para walay bias ba. Okay? So in this case, it says gamay na kaya sa kasangatanan, very small. So we can safely say nga flat na siya or straight ba. So you can do this, or if ang electric field mo na a certain angle, then we can have EA cosine theta. Okay? That's why you have this. No? So for figure 1, take a look at this figure 1. So the electric flux to this area element is positive. Okay? Positive siya kay asa na siya gikan, dili na siya ay kani. Kani siya nga portion. Right? So ang electric field padulong didto. So padulong dito ang electric field. Then ang direction niya, ang area niya is of course perpendicular sa surface. So naa siya small angle theta, which we can just calculate as EA cosine theta. And positive ang iyang value because the same direction ang electric field and ang imuhang direction sa area. Now, how about kaning number 2? Okay? Take a look at this number 2. Kani siya. Kana. So, ang imong electric field is dira padulong and ang imong area is dinha nga direction. So, they are perpendicular with each other. So, wala kay flux diha. So, that would be 0. Now, for case 3, naadiri ang electric field and take note, we chose the direction of the area perpendicular siya sa surface at the same time outward kanang pagawa siya sa surface ba. So naman diri ang direction sa imong area, so naa siya value but it's negative. Okay, opposite ang iyang direction. That's how they do it. And then i-add din mo tanan contribution for each, then you get the total flux. Okay? So muna siya ang akong gi-discuss kanina. Okay? So this is the idea. Kana gid siya ang formula. Alright. So we have flux in simple terms lang. Kasi wala nang integral. It's just EA cosine theta. If parallel with each other, then just, so if theta is 0, then we can just simply say nga ang flux is EA. Right? So, para lang. So, later on, okay, later na muna. We'll have one example lang sa. So, na-question din na atay shape din a square. It's a box, by the way. Yeah, geometry. So, we are asked to find what's the total flux that passes through the cube. Okay, so the total flux ano. So, sa kaning cube, naanay 6 ka faces, right? Okay, we have sa top, sa bottom, sa front, back, and then sa side. Alright? So, 6 tanan ka faces. So, we can just simply calculate the electric field for each face. Okay? Each face. Okay? Sa kada face niya, kay flat man na siya and square. Right? And we know the area of a square. Just L square. Right? So, that's the area of the square. Now, if you look at face 1, asa ang face 1 din? Where's face 1? Wala ko sa label. Tara. So, tara ang face 1. So, 1. So, kani siya. Right? Meaning, facing dito sa ZY nga plane. Okay? Sa ZY nga plane. So, naadiri iyang area. Iyang direction sa area. And ang direction sa electric field is dinhi. So, if you look at it, ang direction sa area of electric field is opposite with each other. So, it must be negative. That's why negative. And ang formula sa flux just EA, di ba? EA. And negative siya kay opposite ng direction sa electric field and direction sa area. And ang formula sa area sa imuhang square, square It's just L square, right? That's why nahimo na siyang negative E L square. So that's the flux sa phase 1. How about phase 2? Tara, opposite niya. So this is phase 2. Tara. So take a look at the electric field and the area, the same direction, right? Parallel. So positive siya. So you have EL square. But for phase 3, 4, 5, and 6, the rest of the phases, ang electric flux kay 0. Why? Take note nga ang A cosine theta na siya. Theta is the direction between, or the angle between electric field and the area. Now, if you look at phase 3, this is phase 3, right? Phase 3. Mo ni iyang electric field direction, pero iyang area nga direction, but ang electric field is diha padulong. So it's 90 degrees, right? So wala ni pass through nga flux gyud din ha. Okay? So that's 0. The same thing is true po din sa kani nga phase, kani nga phase sa ubos, right? And including kani nga phase, kani wala sad na. So 0 na tanan. So ang mo contribute lang gyud sa electric flux is kanilang phase 1 and phase 2. But if you add the total flux, you have flux sa phase 1 plus flux sa phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and phase 6. Take note nga ang 3, 4, 5, 6 kay 0 na siya. Wala. For phase 1, ang flux niya is negative E L squared plus ang flux sa phase 2 is just EL squared. So if i-add nimo 0 gyapon. So all in all, wala kay flux, ang total flux wala. Okay. So make sense na po siya kay lahos sulod ka diri, lahos ra po dira. Okay? So it's like a water bitaw nga wala siya na stay o na confine, so it moves, it flows, and ang direction niya is nag-cancel. Okay, wala siya net flux because of this. So opposite direction ang kaning phase 1, opposite siya sa direction sa phase 2. Okay, so I hope naka-follow ra so far sa discussion on electric flux, because that would be very important in when we go to the Gauss's law now. Okay, because Gauss's law is related to electric flux. So Gauss' law was discovered by this guy, Carl Friedrich Gauss. He made a very important and noble and significant contribution in electromagnetism. Number theory is a mathematician also, made contribution in statistics and non-Euclidean. Non-Euclidean is sa advanced na siya nga topic sa mathematics, when it talks about dili siya flat or straight lines, but more on curvature. So sometimes apply na siya sa theory of general relativity ni Einstein. He also made a contribution and significant contribution to the body of knowledge on cometary orbital mechanics, and he is the founder of German magnetic studies, the Earth's magnetic field also. So grabe jud kani siya, no, makaana jud ka ana niya na all. Okay. So Gauss's law is an expression of the general relationship between the net electric field flux and the charge enclosed by the surface. So mabalik din ta ani. Right? We can determine that the what's inside sa box. We can determine what's inside here by knowing the flux. Okay? So kung unsa ang naa sa sulod, mao gyud na siya igawas dapat, right? Kung unsa ang naa sa gawas, not to judge, but mao gyud na siya ang naa sa sulod. Mao na siya ang sa electric sa Gauss's law ba. Hindi siya judgmental, it's actually a fact. A fact na siya kung unsa iyang makita sa gawas na mao gina sa sulod. Right? Kung bigaon siya sa gawas, let's say kani siya kung unsa naa sa gawas, then definitely mo gina ang naa sa iyang heart because out from the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. So something like that, imo na ang ihang metaphor. So the closed surface is often called the Gaussian surface. So if you go here, so it's like if na ako'y something charged here, so this is like my Gaussian surface. So take note, symmetric siya, di ba? Let's say perfect circle na siya. And this is the electric field. So from this surface, I can measure the electric flux, meaning I can count the number of electric field lines passing to this surface by this formula, flux, EA, or integral dA, like that. Or if flat siyang surface, just EA. Okay? So sa kanina, kung unsa nasa sulod, mo po na dapat ang naa sa gawas, makita niya ang electric flux. Kung unsa makita ang electric flux sa surface, then mo po na siya dapat ang unsay naa sa sulod based sa pattern sa gawas. Okay, so stating that in mathematical terms, that is actually given by this. Q enclosed over epsilon naught. So this is Gauss's law. Kung unsa ang electric field nga makita sa surface, then mao na dapat ang nasa sulod. Okay? So simple naman siya, right? Where Q enclosed is the total charge enclosed by this surface area. Okay? Over na lang siya factor. It's just a factor, a constant. Epsilon naught. Okay? So simply saying, as I've said, if you have a charge Q enclosed inside, or inside na siya enclosed, mao po na ang iyang given electric field. Or the other way around. If you have this electric field measured on the outside of the surface, then this must be the total charge over epsilon naught contained inside. So I hope na gets ra ang concept sa Gauss's law. So actually simple lang yun siya ang iyang idea ba. Right? So Gauss's law, as I've said kanina, is valid only for distribution of charges of closed surface and of course na-exhibit siya og high symmetry. So if we go to other examples, let's say unsay electric field sa spherical surface, like kani siya, so we can do that using Gauss's law. Kay if mo gamit atong formula bitaw before nga kani siya nga electric field, that would be quite difficult to solve. So with the use of Gauss's law, inani naman na siya EA equals Q enclosed over 4 pi epsilon naught. Tapos we want to know unsay electric field diri sa gawas. Okay, then we can draw our Gaussian surface symmetric sa imuhang as perfect na siya nga circle, right? So this is your Gaussian surface. This is your source charge. This is your source charge. So mo na yung electric field diha unsay direction niya. So that can be easily be done by Gauss's law. Yeah, we can determine the electric field by having E. Tapos ang area sa surface sa imong sphere is just 4 pi r square. And the total charge enclosed, let's say it's Q. So we have mo ni kaganina di ay. Sorry about that. Tara, this is for the surface sa sphere. So mo ni ang Gaussian surface. Okay, you want to find the electric field here. Okay, magamit na gyapon ko atong formula ngayon. EA equals Q over epsilon naught. E, the area niya is area of this Gaussian surface. This is just 4 pi r squared q over epsilon naught. So the electric field is just 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught q over r squared. So dali lagi siya makalculate na din mo. But if you have also a line, right? Then makadraw ka dapat diha og this one. This is your Gaussian surface. Okay? Nadire mo electric field. So on. Let's say positive ni siya nga charge diha. Okay? So the same formula gyud mo gamiton. You have E, then the area of this cylinder, right? This is just pi r squared h, right? Let's say this is h height and this is r ang kada siya nga distance. Q over epsilon naught. Okay, so we can calculate the electric field there as 1 over pi r squared h epsilon naught q. Okay? So we will not be involving any calculations sa ato ang exam na ani or even sa problem set. I just show you how Gauss's law is applied, okay, in solving this charge distribution of having a charge distribution having high symmetry. Okay, let's say the sphere and the line charge. So, gigamit ang Gauss's law all for the concept ra gyud nga if you have this EA equals Q over epsilon naught, kung unsa ang naa sa ihang sulod charge, mao po na dapat ang iyang electric flux nga makita sa gawas. So, equal siya. Another analogy niya is parang sa water, bitaw kanang sa kanang faucet. What faucet ba na? So, let's say, imagine this is a faucet. This is your source sa water, right? Kung unsa ang source diha, mao po na ihang gawas, right? So you can, it's like this is the flux and this is the source inside. So this is the flux and then this is the source. Okay? So that would be all for this discussion on Gauss's law. I hope clear lang siya. So dali ra gyud actually or bubo na po ang atong discussion for this type of for this topic because wala man sa deal ato mga the detail na gyud sa calculation. Okay? Ato rang i-discuss unsa ang Gauss's law in overview, in bird's eye view, unsa siya and nganong gamit siya and gusto siya pag-apply sa pag-apply sa mga uban situations or charge distribution na taas og symmetry like sphere and line charge and even a point na siya at taas kay ihang symmetry. Okay? So if na may question, you can freely comment down below sa kaninga video or you can email me or you can message me sa ako ang Facebook katong sa Messenger or you can contact me sa ako ang number na adto sa syllabus, di ba akong number. So that would be all and see you on sa consultation time. If na mo i-ask nga question, then you can ask your question there sa ato ang during our consultation time. Okay? So, thank you. That would be all and stay safe and peace.